Good guys, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're going to be reviewing some of my big calls that I made before the season started for 2022. I got some of you guys on Instagram, my subscribers, to give me some big calls before the season started. And 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it is after the footy season's ended, we're going to take a look back to see if we got any of these big calls correct, to see how far we were off with some of these big calls, because I know for a fact that we were very far off with a few of these. With Jakey H08, he predicts that there'll be 4 draws. This big call wasn't good at all, to be honest. Only 1 draw we saw this season, none in a final. He expected over 4, so yeah, certainly way off the money there. We only saw the 1 draw, which is obviously between Freo and Richmond, so you can't really give points to this guy, Jakey H08. West Coast and Geelong to finish in the bottom 6. Now, I don't know what to say with this one. West Coast and Geelong to finish both in the bottom 6. Half of this big call is a good one. Like, half this is thumbs up, a plus, big ticks to this guy. But the other half of the prediction, get rid of the Geelong part and you've done well. Although it was expected probably for them to finish bottom 6. I'm not sure how massive of a big call this would have been, but including Geelong would have made it a big call. Unfortunately, you just were way off the money there. That was one of the worst calls you could have possibly made. Obviously, we all know the Cats finished first. They won the flag, and this guy thought they were going to finish in the bottom 6. Richmond bounce back and win the flag. Ooh, it's not the worst. I was certainly very pessimistic on the Tigers leading into this season. Like, you would have seen my season predictions. I think I had them 12th. I just didn't see any renaissance from the Tigers, and we did see a recovery from Richmond this season. They certainly played their game style again, and since round 6 or 7 they certainly played some really good footy, scored the most amount of points this season. So if you were to say Richmond bounce back, win a final, that would have been a good call. To bounce back and win the flag, it was a bit far off. Look, they didn't have a great year in 2021. Yep, fair enough, injuries, whatever the excuse you want to bring out, but no amount of luck is going to bring the Tigers some more success this year. Carlton finished in the top 8. I wouldn't necessarily consider it a big call, because a lot of people were seeing it possibly happening. I think more people were saying it wasn't than having them in the top 8. And obviously they should have made the top 8. We all know with Carlton, they were in the top 8 for 22 rounds and they bottled it in the last round. We haven't seen something like this since the 1970s. I don't think you can be closer on a big call if you try. This was as close as you could possibly get to not getting a big call correct for Carlton finishing the top 8. Like, they were 1 point away from doing it. Extremely unlucky. Lukey Bauman, you should have got this one right. You haven't. So ultimately, it's a fail. Small forward will win the Coleman medal. I don't think this is a good prediction at all, actually. A small forward will win the Coleman medal. I know, obviously, it didn't happen, but I don't even think there was a small forward in the top 5, let alone top 10. I'm going to have a look, actually. Let's have a quick look at the Coleman race. Jesus, Cameron was, I think, 11th there. So, yes, certainly nowhere near it for that one. It's a bold call. Like, I don't mind it still, looking into this, but I just don't ever see it happen. They're just not going to get enough opportunities. You need, like, an absolute jet to just have a breakout year. Now, this is the period of the video where I just went through some stupid, outlandish big calls some people made. I don't think they were being, I hope they weren't. Well, they went through certain plays, predicting him to make the All-Australian. If you think this one was bad for Jade Gresham to make the All-Australian squad, this is genuinely the best of the bunch. It gets worse. So you've got Jade Gresham, which was obviously bad in itself. Robbie Tarrant, see what I mean by going downhill? Like, it's getting worse than this. Will Day. Yep, I'd say that's worse than Tarrant's. And is there any more? Yep, Willem Drew, arguably even worse. So I guess you can understand where I'm coming from in terms of the fact that none of these were even close. They just gradually got worse. This one was probably the pick of the bunch in terms of shyness. Oh my goodness, we've got an even worse one. Dusty to win the Brownlow. He's gone for Dusty to win the Brownlow. Brock Williams has gone for Andrew Brayshaw to win the Brownlow. And Zay Bennell goes for Carl Amon to win the Brownlow. Oh my God, it gets worse. It even gets worse. I didn't even go through my reasoning for Martin. I thought I was going to cover that. Martin's, I thought, yeah, that was pretty bad. But then Amon. Someone bloody said Carl Amon. The Brayshaw one, that was a good one. He, I think, finished 4th. Amon to win the Brownlow medal. Zay, you're an absolute idiot, mate. I don't know if the people here are taking the piss or if they're saying because they hope it happens or if they're genuinely being serious with this one. If you're being serious, genuinely thinking Carl Amon was going to win the Brownlow, like, you've got rocks for brains, Carl. Or Zay, I should say. Like, that was shocking. But that's a stretch. Like, Dusty would have to have a monumental season for him to get in. He didn't have a monumental season. The biggest winning margin and score will be surpassed. I just don't know why people still believe that this could possibly happen. The AFL has changed. In this day and age, you'll be lucky to see a game where a side scores over 130, let alone the biggest winning margin and score, which I'm pretty sure the biggest score is 239. The biggest score last year was 167. So what Zipsy's saying is that the biggest score would increase by over 72 to over 239. In this day and age, we've just got a defensive mindset, and the scoring in the AFL is just decreasing over the years. Again, I don't know if this guy's being serious, if he's going real outlandish, or if he just doesn't know what the biggest winning score or margin is, because there's just no way it's going to happen, I don't think, in the foreseeable future again. We've gone so far halfway through this video, and these big calls are absolutely terrible. West Coast finished bottom of the ladder. I take back what I said. Finally, Slasher HKI actually goes with a very good prediction. If North just pinched one of those wins, you know, to finish the season off, this would have actually occurred. This would have been exactly right. Not a bad prediction whatsoever. Like, most people saw him dropping, but not by that amount. And West Coast finishing bottom. Any other year, they would have finished on the bottom. So, bloody hell, this was really good. Very close alongside the Carlton one. Geelong not to lose a game at GMHBA Stadium. That's also a very good one. They were 3 points away from doing that, from achieving that feat. They were really close. I do respect this one from Go Time. I want to quickly see my reasoning. As much as I feel like Geelong will drop off a bit, the Cats are a complete powerhouse at GMHBA. They just don't lose there, even when they're not going so greatly, which is really never. They're just an absolute powerhouse, so it definitely wouldn't shock me if that did happen Go Time. So I guess I also saw that one being fairly possible. 3 teams miss out on the top 8 after playing finals in 2021. I think that was actually accurate. You've got Essendon, GWS and Port Adelaide, who were in the top 8 last year and missed out this year. Well done. Bailey Brown. That is the first big call he's actually gotten correct in the whole video. I thought there was a chance we were going to go through the entirety of the video without getting a single one correct. Bailey Brown. Hats off to you, mate. We all see so many sliders and risers every year. We always see at least 2 or 3 sides who don't make the top 8 make it the next year. So I did see this one coming, and I'm pretty sure I explained in my reasoning, but it occurred, so I can't really discredit this guy because it was a good call. The D's in 2021, the Power in 2020, the Lions in 2019, the Tigers in 2017. I mean, it happens more often than not. So again, that honestly probably will actually end up happening. And it did. And it bloody did. So I just had a feeling that was going to happen. And this one as well. Nick Dacos coming top 10 in the Brownlow. I'll give hats off to Dylan for this one. Like, he didn't get it right, but he was in a way close. Because obviously Dacos didn't finish top 10. However, he did finish, if I'm not mistaken, equal first for his own team's count, Collingwood in the Brownlow, which is just unbelievable for a first-year player. Giants to make the top 4, says... Oh, Jesus Christ, that's got to be the worst so far. The worst call, I've got to say, so far. Even worse than Carl Amon winning the Brownlow. If he would have switched it around and titled it bottom 4, he would have got it correct. That's how far off he was. I'm going to quickly listen to my reasoning. If I say anything along the lines of, oh, I actually don't mind this prediction. I see possibly happening. Oh, Holmesy, I think this is a good call. Oh, I think this is actually not too bad at all. I tell you what, I don't even know what I'm going to do. I honestly don't mind that. I don't mind that as a big call. I can see that happening. Giants are probably... I'm walking away. That is just shit. We're moving on to the next one. No explanation needed. Now, I like the next one. Freo or St Kilda to do a Melbourne in 2021 and rise to the top. Not bad at all from Total Drama. I think what he was implying was that either Freo or Saints do what Melbourne did last year and actually finish as minor premiers. Obviously, that didn't happen for any side, but Freo were quite close in a way. They should have probably made the top 4. They can thank Carlton for that, so good one, Carlton. There you go. But yeah, I do think Freo are actually not too far off for this one. They certainly rose. Like, no one really were expecting Freo to rise that far. Saints obviously didn't do that, but I didn't think this was that bad. Like, obviously not correct, but not too far off, I don't think. Now, this one I find quite funny. North finishing ahead of West Coast. You would think if I told you before the season started that West Coast would finish 17th this season, that you'd be like, oh, well done, you got this big call correct. But it's very funny that the one team to finish below West Coast was actually North Melbourne, so he could have picked any other team, genuinely any other team, for this big call to be correct, but he picked North Melbourne and got it wrong, so poor AL. Jordan McCleary, D's finished outside of the top 4. Even more outlandish, Ferguson, Melbourne bomb out and don't even make the finals altogether. Bulldogs to miss out on the top 8. Tex Walker to never play again. Stuart Dew to get sacked before round 10. AFL broadcast to bring back the 5-minute warning. I tell you what, if that happened, that would be amazing. Gold Coast out, Tasmania in. And finally, we end off with an absolute classic, Essendon to win a final. Well, a lot to take in there with a bit of a speed run of all these big calls. I think there were like 7 or 8. Now, this one as well I want to quickly go over. D's finishing out to the top 4 from McCleary. It was super close to actually occurring. Like, if they just lost to Brisbane, that would have actually occurred. I also want to quickly highlight Will's terrible big calls as well. He firstly had Taylor Walker not to play again. He was absolutely astronomical for the Crows in his return, kicking 47 goals, being the sole reason why they won a couple of games in the early part of the season. And then for Stuart Dew to get sacked before round 10, Gold Coast's an unbelievable season this year, and Stuart Dew was praised as one of the best coaches probably of the year, and certainly deserving of that contract extension as well. So yeah, very good predictions there, Will. You certainly know your stuff. Now, before we do wrap up this video in itself, we've got a couple of extra big calls I'm pretty sure that I made myself to finish the season. I'd be very intrigued to see how these match compared to the ones that my subscribers made, because I think I went through quite a bit. First one being that the Eagles win 6 or less games in... Come on! West Coast winning 6 or less games. I wouldn't consider it an outlandish big call, but it's still a big call. I don't think most people would have said this was going to happen. 6 or less games would probably put you in the bottom 3 or 4 range, which certainly did occur. Another one I got is Melbourne to make the top 4, but don't... How did I predict that? Melbourne to depart in straight sets. That's got to be the pick of the bunch. Who in their right mind would have actually predicted this? For starters, you would have had to predict the D's to actually finish making the top 4. And then predict them to fall out in straight sets. Like, the chance of that happening before the season started would have been very little. I don't even know why I said this. I don't remember saying this at all, because I didn't have these in my original predictions. 7 plays to poll 30. I think the rest of the big calls probably are wrong. I very much doubt I topped the other one. We had 7 plays to poll 30 plus Brownlow votes, which didn't happen, and 2 wingers to get selected in the AA squad. It never happens. I don't know why I keep saying it every year. I just need to learn to shut up and never say it again, and maybe some wingers will get selected. Anyways, I think that's it in terms of the big calls for this video. I think I just finished off the video just plugging my bloody Instagram. I mean, if you want to follow it, I'm not going to say anything else. But regardless, though, that is the end of the video. I do apologize for being, in a way, slack with the uploads for the previous week or so. But I'm gonna knuckle down again and get some videos out. I've got a lot of ideas in mind, so expect some uploads over the next week. Weekly vlog, gave it a break for this week. I did nothing for the entire week, so that's the reason. So that'll be out next week. Anyways, though, I appreciate you guys watching the video, and we'll see you very soon in my next one.